Hello, welcome. Thanks for being here. Amazing event, huh? Welcome to my session. Welcome to Net Aspire. Welcome to Cloud Native. Welcome to Developer Experience. Welcome here. My name is Emiliano Montesdeoca. I am a Cloud Dev Team Lead at Intelequia and an MVP Microsoft. I'd like to say first, thanks for the organization for letting me be here, for letting me the chance to be part of this amazing event. Without them, most likely this will not be possible. So big thanks to them. Hope you share and to everyone what they do and what we do, so we can keep doing what we do. So before starting, I'd like to, first of all, kind of introduce myself. So I am, as I said before, my name is Emiliano Montesdeoca. I am a team lead. I have a team of developers here on a company called Intelequia. We are a company that is from Spain, from the Canary Island, but we have some headquarters all over the world. I am an MVP in developer technologies for like 4 years now, 3-4 years, and I also am, I kind of say that I am an international speaker. I've been flying out to some places to give some sessions about AI, dev, about everything. Couple of things about me. I love Microsoft Stack. So I've been working for like almost 10 years now, and everything is on Microsoft, and I love why they do. I think how it has improved a lot since what we had before. So I feel like I'm good. I'm good on this. So couple of things. I'm 1995, so I'm 30 years old. So I'm a bit old now. Got two amazing puppies, like another cat, but you can count that cat as a dog too. I am Uruguayan. I was born in Uruguay, and then I moved to Spain a few years later when I was 8 or so. I got a bunch of tattoos, as you can see here, so you don't be scared. I am a good guy, no worries. And yeah, overall, happy to be here, happy to be part of this. And if you want to find me and you want to get in touch with me, so you can have my email around there. Then I have my LinkedIn and my Twitter/X. Note that on the Twitter, there's 2 A's at the end, right? Someone has my other name, so you can get it. So 2 A's, and you can get in contact with me. I publish a lot, and I put a lot of stuff around there, so feel free to reach out, and yeah, we can connect. So, the thing, the agenda, right? So the agenda for this, I have a couple of things that I want to talk about. I got about 45 minutes, so I want to talk about lots of stuff, but show lots of code. By the way, any of these illustrations you see, AI generated, obviously. I don't write this, but I like Tintin, which is the style. So, first of all, it starts for developer experience. How can we solve it? Developer challenges, Net Aspire, and demo. So I'm gonna try to talk about 15 minutes or so, and then have about 30 minutes or 20 minutes of code, of running stuff, and playing with the code. So, first of all, the struggles of developer experience. So why am I always sad and when I develop, right? So first of all, what is developer experience, right? So I have a couple of, like, you can see on the screen right now, like a kind of what it is. But if you want to summarize this, is about the experience of us developers creating stuff, right? Yeah, building software for everyone, building products, working on stuff. And when we build stuff, we must use some tools, some platforms, and some other stuff that, well, we need to use. And for example, if I work with Microsoft, I use VS Code and Visual Studio, and then I use Azure, and then I use, I don't know, any other tool that I must use, to create stuff that I write. So the developer experience itself, it like holds everything that affects the developer, right? So what happens when we kind of like have not a good developer experience? This happens a lot, I always talk with people and they tell me, I have to do this and that to debug software. I was like, what are you building? How are you debugging stuff when you're working with, I don't know, Rust or something, right? I was like, no, you have to do all of this. And I was like, wait, I just need to click F9 on my Visual Studio and it works, right? So that's kind of developer experience, right? What happens when we have bad developer experience, right? Well, it can affect in three things, right? Which is the impact on productivity and efficiency. Obviously, productivity. I mean, this is like when you're working at home with your monitors, with your keyboard, with your with your house, with your family, with your kids around. I mean, that's a good thing, and it's way better than the office, for example, right? So it can impact having worse monitors and worse keyboards and worse developer experience, so it can impact the productivity and efficiency. Same stuff happens with the quality of the software. So if you're working and you're not happy and you're not having enough productivity and you're not used to work like this, most likely the quality is going to be worse because you're not thinking and you're distracted because you don't like stuff. And then obviously satisfaction and retention, it goes down this also affects businesses because people are not like staying, because for example, let's say I work at a company and they don't use stuff like that, like, so most likely I'm going to leave, right? So because I want to move to another one that, okay, I like this developer, I mean the developer experience for this company is way better than what I'm used to, right? So these challenges is what we face today, right? I summarize some of the stuff, but you can see a bunch of them here. So for example, tool overload, you don't even know what to use, right? So there's too many stuff around here. So what can I use? Then for example, there's complex environments, right? So we're working with this and then we have a lot of environments running, and then this is complex and we don't know how to work, how to set up. Scalability, I put it twice, but there's limited scalability depending on the project you use, on the experience of the developer project that you're working on. Obviously workflows are inefficient. Maybe you're building stuff and what you already have, your workflow that you already have, is not enough to making good enough software, so you feel bad about that. Obviously knowledge silos, this is important because maybe all the code is, it happens a lot, like someone starts a project and they work for like 3 years there, and then we get people to work on it, and all the knowledge is around there. So those are some challenges we can have. You want to onboard someone onto a project and you see that all the entire code or how to set up stuff is on someone's mind, and there's no documentation on that. So that's something that we can that we can face today. Some of the challenges that we can face today. Then we have outdated strategies. Yeah, it happens a lot. For example, this is 2025 and I still see people deploying with right-click, copy and paste into a FTP server. So, I mean, it's fine. I don't want to say this is bad or, obviously it's not optimal, I guess, but I am not going to judge anyone by what they do, as long as it works and it makes money. It's better than having the best CI/CD and making $0, right? But some of them have outdated strategies that they could potentially improve and even earn more money. And obviously at the very end, I put it twice, but can't scale. There's some stuff that we face today that because of that we can't scale stuff, right? So how can we solve this, right? So in my mind, there's a way to work when you create software that it can help you solve all these challenges that we have, right? So the thing is, there's a strategy for building building cloud apps. So I think we have to move. What we do on my team, we started to move from having everything in a single place to creating like cloud applications that have like small pieces around. Everything is a small piece, right? So the idea is, I summarize it in 5 key points, right? So first of all, adopt microservices architecture. We have heard about microservices. It works. Sometimes it's not needed. I tell people, don't use microservices for everything. It's not worth it, and then it's more work, and it doesn't make any sense to use microservices when you can just create a monolith and it works. Single database, single application, it works. There's no way for you to creating 15 services for everything that you do, right? Doesn't make any sense. Don't do it, because it's worse. And because you're trying to, add scalability and maintainability, you end up having a big software that does this small thing, and you're having like 15 projects and a couple of 100 CI/CDs, and doesn't make any sense, right? Next step is utilize cloud native services. So it makes sense because sometimes you don't want to redo stuff, so you leverage services, like database services, caching services. So you use Redis, or you use SQL Server, or you use Postgres or MySQL. So you already use cloud native services, so you don't have to redo stuff. You don't have to set up everything. I don't want to create a VM and then go and set up the SQL and having to connect and handle DNSs and handle IPs. I don't want to do that. So just leverage that, right? Then implement CI/CD pipelines. I don't know. Sometimes I'm talking about CI/CD and I get people that tell me, we don't use CI/CD. And I was like, okay, how do you maintain a working branch that deploys somewhere eventually? And they say, well, we just compile before publishing. It makes sense. But, please use CI/CDs. Please. It automates testing, and deployment is for way faster release than having right-click publish. You can have tons of people working on the thing, on your project, and each single like PR merge into master has to create an artifact, and that artifacts must be done by CI/CD. Otherwise, someone can mess up doing right click and compiling wrong stuff, and then you broke everything, right? Then emphasize infrastructure as code. So I like this one. I was not a fan before, I have to say, but I like it a lot. So I used to think, and I used to do myself I don't want to handle infrastructure. That's IT team or DevOps or whatever team. I just do code. But then I started, maturing, or whatever you say in English, growing or whatever. And I say, I'd like to take that, because I think if I am the one that's going to develop, I must do the infrastructure, because it's my code that goes somewhere. You handle the hardware, but I handle the software. And software means where we put the stuff too, right? So with this, there's one key point that I think is important, and it's the ensure consistent and reproducible environments. And why is this important? Let's say that you have this massive project that works a lot, gives you millions of dollars. Obviously, it can be easy, but let's say that we have microservices, and then we have about 50 microservices. Let's go way above our mind, right? 50 of them. And then we have 10 databases, and then we have 5 web apps, because each admin uses a different one. And then we have a couple of Redis that are caching stuff, and they have like 100 or so of functions or so. You want to run this local, and you die. Like your computer explodes, like boom. Because you can't run this, because there's no way you can do it. Also, there's a problem. How do you use that setup? How do you debug that? How do you set 100 microservices on local? If there's not a clear way to do it, it's going to be a mess, and you're gonna get people on the team, and it takes 2 weeks for them to run the project. So you need to create the infrastructure as code. So what you write on the code is always the same everywhere. So you clone your repository like Docker. You clone the Docker with another machine. You do Docker Compose app, and it's the same stuff on my machine as in your machine, right? Same stuff. And the last one, monitor and optimize performance. So obviously we need to do monitoring. I was not a fan a few years ago, but I grew, as I said before. And I think every single step that happens on the application, database, whatever, has to be tracked, has to trace, has everything, because you never know when the application starts going slow. You need to know how it used to look, why it's looking like this, and why now it's not working anymore. So you need to know every single step of your application, right? So these are the 5 key points I can say about strategies for building cloud apps. But how do we do it? So that's the main key about the session. Okay, so I give you a little bit of information about this, but now I want to go full NetAspire. And what is NetAspire anyways? So NetAspire, I used to say that it was a framework, it was a package. At this point, it's just a tool it's a thing that Microsoft built that provides tools, templates, and packages for you to build these cloud apps, like they say, observable production-ready apps. So the thing is, they give you an entire framework that lets you build these cloud apps within the code, like where you can orchestrate, where you can add stuff, where you can monitor everything. So everything is delivered by packages through Nugget packages, right? It simplifies the way to create this application because these are modern applications that are harder than just having a single database connected to a single web application, a single API. So the modern applications, they can have hundreds of microservices, for example, in Google, and so you need to know how to do this stuff. So there's three things that I want to mention. The three main characteristics, kind of stuck in English today, sorry. And I put in there. They're basically this is out of the documentation. I'm not changing anything, so if you go there, it's the same. And there's three key things, which is dev time orchestration. So NetAspire, they focus on providing an easy way to orchestrate all your local stuff, all your APIs and databases and web apps on local by just doing code, adding this API and this API and this microservice and this database. Everything is in the code. So it connects everything for you. We'll see a demo later, so don't worry about that. But it lets you connect everything. Then you have NetAspire integration. So integrations are packages like this, let's say, features that you can add to your code, which is services and platforms. For example, you want to add Redis. There's no way you are going to build Redis for you, and you're not going to get the Docker one. You can, but you shouldn't do it. So you just install the integration about that, and then you just add it in there, like add Redis or add Postgres or add SQL Server, something like that, right? And also, our key is like the templates and tooling. Okay, so you have like Visual Studio integrations, VS Code, and obviously the Net CLI. So it provides you with a lot of stuff that helps you create this .NET-Aspire thing. So I don't have anything else to talk about .NET-Aspire. We have about 30 minutes or so to talk about this. What I want to do is now I want to sit down and explain one by one every single thing that I have in the code. So we're gonna just do full code now. So as you can see, it's demo time, right? So first of all, this is my Visual Studio. Okay, this is too small for you, but I want to focus on this thing, right? So I write a lot, by the way. You're gonna see this red thing because I like to write a lot. So as you can see here, we have a couple of stuff here. This is a .NET-Aspire project in Visual Studio, okay? This is my Visual Studio. And you can see here we have a bunch of projects inside. So you can see we have some services here. Then we have a web application, and then service default. This is a class library. And then we have the app host, right? So what is the app host, right? I'm gonna create something. I'm gonna write you something, right? So when we have an application, we have a couple of things, right? So this is our magic application, right? And then we have, for example, our API here. This is one API 1, and then we have our API 2, right? API 2, right? And then we have our database here, right? And then let me see this, and then we have our database here. Let's do this. I know how to write, how to draw here. And then what we do when we are working with this is that we need to connect this one, right? Because they need to know each other, and then they need to know each other with this, and then this one needs to know this one, and if you have a web application, for example, which we do, by the way, we need to know each other and stuff, right? So all this stuff, we need to connect it, and that's what the app host does. There's a thing here. Let me remove this. There's a web app here. Sorry about that. There's a thing that is the app host. The app host is an application which actually orchestrates everything. So this one is the one that's going to set up the AP1, AP2, the web application, and the database, and is going to set up everything so you know how to connect everyone. So this application, this part of the application is going to say, API 1 is here, API 2 is here, web application here, and that's here. So and then if you want to use this one, I'm going to give you the connection string, right? So this is how it kind of works as a microservice application. But let's look at the code, right? So we get in here. I'm gonna make this way bigger so you see it. Sorry about that. And first of all, this is a .NET application, like a .NET 9 application. So this is a standard for you. It's not nothing new that you're going to see. We have a builder here, and the builder then runs here, right? So we can skip these things because these are just normal, right? Then we have some logic, and you can see here that we're creating a distributed application here, right? We're creating a distributed application that can have multiple stuff, right? So first of all, we can see that we have, let's go line by line, and then we're gonna read this, and you'll see how easy this is, and there's nothing like mind-blowing in this, but it's just so easy to see how it works, right? So as I said before, we have an API, right, that we want to use our web application, right? So we need to connect this stuff, right? Makes sense, right? So first of all, obviously, when we are orchestrating everything, we need to say, I'm going to set up my API service. So we have this thing here, and we're going to say, so I'm declaring the API service variable here, and then I'm saying, I have my builder, so, everything that goes inside here is inside the builder. And then we are going to add project, and this project is going to be of the name of my API, which, seems like this, right? This API service seems like this. And I am going to give it the name because, I need to know the name of my API because, I can add a lot of them. I can have my API 1, API 2, API 3. I can't have the same name for everything, right? So I set up the name, and then I have some health checks, okay? This is just, telemetry and stuff. Then I have my API done, right? Maybe I can do green here, done, right? Then we go with this, and then we say, okay, I am going to add another project, which is my web application, right? So my web application, we get the builder, which is all of this, and then we'll see one by one here. So my project is going to be of Global Azure Net Aspire Web, which seems like this one, right? So it's this one. We're going to give it the name, right? And then we need to connect each other, right? So first of all, I have external HTTP endpoints. This is Net Aspire boilerplate. Same stuff with the health checks. And wait, there is something that we need to connect. What? Then look at this. We have two lines here that are important. So I am with reference API service. So I am referencing something. So it seems like what I'm doing is I am referencing my web application. I'm referencing my API service right here, right? With my web frontend here, right? So what I'm saying is that I'm building my web application, and I'm saying, you remember this API that I gave you? They're connected now. And I am not doing anything. I'm just saying by code, this is us writing code, right? So we are saying, okay, this is referenced here, and obviously please wait for it. Now, this is important because, this can happen if you're building services, lots of services and lots of databases. Sometimes, for example, let's say that you have some of the services that are hosted in I don't know, way outside your network, for example, or so, or the database is too big. You cannot run these functions until someone is fully running, because what can happen is that you just start running, your services start running, and your database is still unavailable. And what can happen is that you start getting calls, they fail. And you get 500, because, this is an error they can access, So it's a good thing that we can wait for it. This is, standard Docker stuff, right? And then obviously we can make this blue, and then we can just run this, magic thing, right? So, let's run this. Let's do F5 here, and then let's run this, right? This is going to open a few things now, and this is one of the key points I want to show you. But give me one sec. I want to show you how it works first, and then you can see that and I can tell you about the amazing dashboard that we get. Okay, so remember this is all developer experience. So what you see here, this is insane. I mean, what you see here, we're just setting up an API and a web application and connecting each other. I'm not touching anything like infrastructure. I am just running everything here, like in there and in the app host. I'm not doing anything else, right? So this, when you run it, this opens this thing here. This is amazing. This is let me make this bigger, maybe. This is the Aspire dashboard. So the Aspire dashboard, sorry about that. It's a tool that they gave us. So remember tooling, the enhancing our developer experience, and they let us see all the things that we are putting here on the app host. As you can see here, if you remember about this, we have our API service in here. Let me up this here. So, and then with green, I can say that web frontend is in here with the web frontend. So this tool is actually giving this Aspire thing is giving me a dashboard to see everything, right? So we can access stuff. Let's access this. So I will have our web frontend. This is a standard Blazor web application that, it connects to weather, and the weather goes to the API, right? If I go here and I think it's going to be weather forecast, right? Let me see. Okay, you can see. Oh, you can see, right? You see here, this is a standard API call, which is, on localhost 7597, and then I have my 7193 web application, and it's accessing this data, right? So how are we connecting this, right? How are we doing this in the back, right? So let's go to the API first. Let's take a look at the API. In the API, we have a standard minimal API thing. And then we do have here, this is some code that I should not be here yet, so I am going to remove that for you because I actually, there you go, let me do this, sorry about that. There you go, hey, does it work? Return, there you go, it doesn't work, there you go, sorry about that. I actually did more stuff here. I wanted to do it later on. Let me refresh this, sorry about that. Sorry, because I want my demo, one of the demos is actually doing cache to this, so I'll see about that. We get this, okay? So we get this, and this is a minimal API, and it just fetches everything. And if we go here to the web frontend, this is, as you can see here, right now, you can see web frontend is waiting, and the API service is running because it's starting. So until the API service starts, web frontend doesn't start. So we'll go here, and then most likely it's going to work, and then we refresh, and yeah, this is still, let me reopen this. So let me refresh this API thing, restart. Okay, by the way, you can restart in here, and then most likely, let's see. Okay. This is still cached for some reason, but this shouldn't happen, right? So, how does it work? How can the Blazor application of this? So if you go to web app, and you go to our amazing page, which is this one, right? You see that we have our Blazor application, this is normal, and then we're calling an API, right? And then we're going to get weather async, right? So this is going somewhere, right? So it says that, okay, we're using an HTTP client, makes sense because we're calling a service, and we're doing getting from JSON as async enumerable, standard HTTP client method, weather forecast, same stuff, and I'm calling weather forecast, but I am actually not saying where I need to go, right? I am not saying, you need to call this specific port. Remember that Blazor needs to know where this is where, right? So if I do weather forecast again, so this needs to be known by the application, right? It needs to be known about the application here. So otherwise it's not gonna work, right? But here I don't see localhost or whatever, right? So where do we say this? So let's go to the program CS of that application. And with that, let's start looking at this. So this is a standard Blazor, and then we have here, amazing, look at this. So look at this thing, this is important, right? So we are adding the HTTP client, makes sense, right? Because we need it. We are creating an HTTP, our API client. and then we're creating the HTTP client as a service, as a dependency injector, right? And here we're creating the base, we're adding the base address, right? So here we have the client base address, and then we're seeing, HTTP plus HTTP. This is standard, so go for the secure one, then go to the normal one, and then we say API service. And I was like, I've seen this before. But where? Where have I seen this before? When we go back to here, let me go here to my beautiful thing here. Let me do this smaller so you see it. You can see that my API service, which I did call API service, is actually here, right? So my base address, if you go here, is right this one. So we are using programming to connect stuff by just sharing the name. We are just saying, the base address is API service, and this is called API service. So in the back, NetAspire using service discovery, okay, this is a feature we have for years, but now it makes more sense to say it. It connects everything and it defines all the connection for you. You don't have to do anything. How can we see this? Okay, let's go back here. Let's go back here and let's close all this. And then let's go to the dashboard. I'm gonna talk about the dashboard now. So the dashboard is pretty amazing. As I told you before, it's pretty good. And it shows information about everything. So if you go to details, you see all information about the service, right? We see display name, the state, when it started, the health state, the project itself, the process ID on the machine. If you go down, you see the links, you see references if you have them. Back references. This is new, by the way. You see the references. This is super good. You have the health checks and stuff. And then you see the environment variables, right? So this thing is super amazing because you can see all the environment variables that the application has, right? So you can see, for example, this one, all this stuff that you need and you might need because you can share stuff here, right? But let's do one thing. Let's go to the web app, right? Because at some point, the application must know how to connect, right? So what does it do for you? If you go here to the web frontend, same stuff, by the way, resource stuff, URL stuff, references, health checks and stuff. If we go down here, we're gonna start seeing some stuff, right? So if we keep going down, we see this, and come on. I am most definitely not putting stuff on my app config thing, so I am not putting anything on my configuration file of the application, right? So let's see the values. And you see here, oh wow, I remember this URL. I actually saw it before. It's the URL for the API, right? So NetAspire is actually putting this for me, and then when you're setting up the HTTP client, it's updating that for you. So let's say that we have my API here and my web app. So this is the API and this is the web app. The web app needs to know this small port here that you need to connect. So this value here in here, he has to know it. So here I need to know, if I do here, so which port I'm calling. So this value here is being set by host, right? So this thing in here is being set by this. So it's connecting everything for you. You don't have to do anything. Now multiply this on your mind right now. Multiply it. Put 10 services, 20 services, 30 services. You see me putting, ports all over the world? No, I'm not. I'm just saying, connect this with this. I don't want to care about the port itself. I don't mind, right? So this is the good thing about using this, but there's more stuff, I still have about 10 minutes to show more stuff. So we have, for example, console logs. If you put stuff, API service and the web frontend service, you can see that, okay, I have some of these are some services here. But let's do, for example, let's try to open this in here, for example, let's do weather forecast, right? And then let's go back to the console and then we'll see the API. I should start seeing them, or maybe I should, maybe there's no logs in there. But if you go here, most likely we start seeing them. Let's see. So I have the console, and then you go to the web frontend, and let me refresh this up. Maybe sometimes it gets slow because I'm playing with the. I did the change for the cache, so maybe it's not started correctly. So let me run it again. But if you go here and you open this, and I do the weather thing as I did before, weather forecast, right? You go to logs and then API service. Oh yeah, maybe they're not enabled. But if we most definitely go here and we open them, we are going to start seeing some of these stuff here, like the access and stuff. It depends if you put or not, don't put anything there. Maybe it's not there. But as you can see here, we have some, executions and stuff, Then you have also all these stories. So we have a bunch. There's a way to see all the console logs. Why this is important? You need to know telemetry of your application. This is the first key point I always tell my team. Every new hire, every new people working with me, I tell log everything on the app. Because we need to know at what point it failed. And this is how you see. You use this thing. You use this thing, magic thing, to see everything. This is a bit old because you see only the console log here. Doesn't make any sense, If I just, if I do this and I keep doing this, it's not gonna show anything important. I can add it if you want, but there's nothing. But I can have traces, and this is good. This is a good thing that I can have, which allows me to see the traces. And why are the traces important? Because we need them to see from an entire stack of things. Like if I do this, for example, even if I refresh here, right? For example, this should this just updated, I think, right? Because all these requests that I do, they depend. I say depend on a single message, right? So you have, for example, let's say you call one endpoint to another, and from one endpoint to another, it happens 4 services in the middle. So you have call this one, happen this, call this one, happen that, call this one, happen that, call this one, happen this, right? So there's 4 calls in the middle. You need to know what happened between all of this. So, and this is where you can see with the structure logs. With the structure logs, you can see, depending on the entire trace, right? This is called trace. You can see all the messages structure. So if you go here and we say, I'm going to see the trace, you can see here that I can see the entire code of my application, of my web app. It actually went from the application into the API service, and then it returned the data here. So it goes here, then calls the API, and the API returns the result, and then it continues, right? Why is this important? Let's continue with this. I always like to make this example because it's super good. So let's say that I have a call here. This is a big call, right? And the call is like this, and it takes 4 seconds, right? This is 4 seconds, right? And then I have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or whatever services, and you see that this is super slow and super slow. We're talking about milliseconds here. That's super slow, super slow, super slow. Something like this, and then super slow. I didn't have to be the best developer to see, okay, there might be an issue here. Kind of like biggest one, maybe it can happen, right? So with this, you can do that, right? So, and also you can have metric and stuff. This is all the metrics about the API service. You can see the request and everything. This just looks fine, right? But there's more stuff I want to show you. There's not only that, this improves a lot of the developer experience, but there's one thing, there's multiple things that we can do. But what I want to show you is integrations. So, I actually have more stuff here that I want to show you. This thing that I want to show you is an integration. So an integration, it's this package that, you can build it yourself, but Microsoft gives you a lot of packages, also the community, that you can add this services to your application. So what I want to add is a Postgres database. And you can see, I want to show you how easy it is to add a database into this, just with a few lines of code, and you can connect them to your application. So first of all, what we're going to do is that we're going to add this package, right? So we are here on the thing, and we have our PostgreSQL application already there, right? Then in here, what we're going to say is that we are going to create the database. So we're going to say Postgres. So, builder.add Postgres, right? and we're going to give it a name. And we're going to say Postgres, right? Obviously, this is not enough because for the Postgres thing, we need also a database, right? So we're going to say, Postgres DB equals Postgres, right? Add database, and it's going to call not all this. Forget about this, but this one. This makes more sense, right? And we're going to set this up. And I want you to show this. I'm going to run this, by the way. It's going to be insane because you're going to start seeing the stuff that you didn't see before on the dashboard. So it's going to add a new database for you, and it's going to add a new. It's going to add the Postgres server, let's say, on the database here, and you can see it in here. You see, it's setting everything. That's going to Docker, getting the Postgres, and then running it in here. So I could potentially be there. Also, you have console logs for everything. I can go here. Yeah, you see, you have logs and everything. So I have stuff. But how can I use this, by the way? How can I use this? So I want to use this in a database service. I have in here, and I have this is an API. And in the API, what I need to do is use the consuming package. So there's two types of packages. There's server package, well, not server packages, I'd say app host packages, and they're consuming packages. There's packages that are done to consume what you put on the app host, right? So this one, I need to have this one. So I'm gonna copy it here because I have it in here already. So is this one, right? So this one, it gives me the ability of using something cool, of using npg sql, right? So you see here. And this, what I need to do is actually to add the packages. You saw here that in here, I actually added the thing. So, well, I need to do the same stuff for the other part. I need to, in the builder, add and data source, and connection set. Connection name is going to be whatever we put the other place. Let's go back here, and we can see, I'm gonna make this bigger because maybe you don't see it. So we can have this here, right? So it's our database. We need to know about our database. So what else we can do? Let's create an endpoint for this, right? So let's do the app map get, and then for this we are going to say it's going to be the normal one, and it's going to be a sync, and it's going to use the data source. So npg sql not this one, data source, data source, and then it's going to call it db, and then we are going to do something with this, right? So do this, right? So what we're going to do, we are going to just basically create a connection, with using bar connection. With this makes sense. What we're going to do is just a standard, open connection thing, and we're going to just call the thing, right? So we are going to call the command. This is not how you create the command, by the way. This is just helping me to do it. The command text is going to be select. I don't know. I'm going to use now because I think now returns the time on Postgres, and then the result. Please do it for me. No, not this one. Wait. Your bar result is no. This one is going to be this one, and then we're going to return is just the date, right? I'm going to return the result. Most likely this is just going to do it in here. So what we're doing is that we actually added this here, and then we use the service that it gives us to use, and then we are just going to enter here, do a now thing, like call the date and return the date. So let's run this, but you're going to find something that it is not going to be appearing because I did not add it to the app host. It doesn't matter that I have this application correctly written because I need to go back here. You see, I have here, but I didn't add my database service. So I need to go here and say, let's stop this, by the way. And then I'm going to just say build add project, and then something like this. Thanks Copilot for doing that for me. But if we run this, we're gonna have an issue because we are not going to know about the service. So what we need to do, we need to reference the Postgres DB here. So this one, we need to reference it in here. And obviously, it's a good practice and we should wait for it also, because otherwise we might ask the service for the thing, for the database, and the database is still not I don't know, set up from the Docker or whatever, right? So we go here, and what we are going to see is, right, okay, we run this, and then we see here, by the way, we go database service, still waiting because the Postgres is not working yet. Okay, now everything is just working, the database service is starting, and it's working. And then we go here, and we say, why is the date? We might fail. Okay, didn't fail. Nice. So we get date here. And this date comes straight from the database. I'm not doing anything. I can change it for version or whatever. I think we can do, for example, I think version works too. Let's see version. We might, does it work? Yeah, you see, PostgreSQL on Linux or whatever or something, right? So this, we just did we just did something like, create use the integration. So I think I'm past the time. I wanted to show more, but actually I just did. I think I talked too much. But you see, what I wanted to show you actually is how the developer experience is so important, because what we just did is complicated to do. So when you want to set up a developer environment for your project, you must think about all of this. You must think about how to connect stuff. You must think about how to do stuff. You must think how to connect stuff when you have 1, 2, 5, 10, 20 services, 5 databases, because we daily on my company with my team, we deal with this kind of projects. We have multiple databases because there's no way, sometimes it's not secure to have everything on the same database, so we need to move stuff within databases. So we need to know how to run this locally, and the only way we do is without losing our mind, and by keeping my team with me, is to use these kind of tools that we get. So what else? Let me put in here and see what else. So references. So I want to share some references on that. Obviously, I always publish all my talks and sessions on GitHub, so you can find all the source code for everything. You see it in here, it's github.com at Montesdeoca, and then Global Azure 2025 NetAspire. Then you also have the official Microsoft documentation, the blog for the Aspire. Then I share 2 Twitters. One is mine, and the other one is David Fowl, which is the creator / main guy that does everything from NetAspire. I met him on Redmond, and he's super cool, and he likes to see stories and to share new development stuff of Spire. So please follow him, and also please follow me. And yeah, then I just want to say thank you. Thanks a lot for being here. I'm sorry if I was talk too much and I didn't show that much. I wanted to, but 45 minutes is what I have. So yeah, please keep supporting the community. Keep watching us. Keep sharing about what we do and what the organizers do. Yeah, have a nice day. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching me. And I hope to see you, I don't know, hopefully there with you one day, and then in person, and we can talk about stuff. Get in contact with me if you need anything. If nothing else, see ya.